Moving on, if it comes down to choosing between her life and her breast, the answer is an easy one for Nana Echa-Asante. She chose life, which is why she decided to have her breast removed after she was diagnosed with cancer. There were difficult times, but she endured, and after 2 years of fighting, she is happy to share the tale of how she survived the disease many people dread. Adelaide Arthur has more.
I was diagnosed on April 1st of 2015. I think initially when the diagnosis came, I really thought it was an April Fool's joke, because I thought, I was like, how? But the journey from April 1st, 2015 to now, I must say has been, it's hard to say it's been a good journey, because nobody wants this diagnosis, no one wants to deal with this. I was diagnosed with something called DCIS, ductus carcinoma in situ. What it is that they notice changes in your breast tissue, changes that could potentially become cancerous, or it could not become cancerous. Right now, there's no test to see if it will develop into cancer. So then you have to make a decision between you and your care providers, whether you're going to take a wait and see attitude to see if it's going to be cancerous, or you'll treat it right away.
Ductal carcinoma in situ, DCIS, is the presence of abnormal cells inside the milk duct in the breast. It is said to be the most common type of non-invasive breast cancer. It is non-invasive because it hasn't spread to other parts of the breast. A mammogram can easily detect DCIS.
Most times the DCIS is a small area involved, so they'll do something called a lumpectomy, and they'll just take it out. But unfortunately for me, the area was big. So even though they knew that part of it hadn't turned into cancer yet, they didn't know if everything else, because the MRIs, the mammograms couldn't tell you which was cancerous. So the only advice they gave me was the only option I had was to have a mastectomy, which is to remove my breast. That wasn't a difficult decision for me, because it was a breast. I'd had my kids, they were grown, a breast versus a life. It really was not an option. It wasn't a difficult decision to make. The difficult thing was I going to do one breast, or was I going to do two breasts? So I opted to do a double mastectomy. But I was very blessed once again because of where I was and the team that I had. So during the surgery, they remove some lymph nodes to test if the cancer had spread beyond the initial stages. And once again, I was extremely blessed, because when I went back for my post-surgical review, my daughter looked at me, and the first thing, that's why I said relationships are so important. The first thing she said to me, she looked at me, she said, "You must have had people praying for you." Because she said the cancer was the size of an orange, but it hadn't transferred, it hadn't moved. Where it started is where it was, even though there had been like a 6-month time frame between when it was discovered and when I actually had the surgery. I was blessed again in that because they could test it right away and see that it hadn't traveled anywhere, they were able to reconstruct my breast. My surgery was about 12 hours, but they took out my own breast, all the tissues, and then they reconstructed it at the same time. It was tough. It was extremely painful. You come home with tubes, and it was just tough. But because it hadn't spread, I didn't have to do chemotherapy. I didn't have to do radiation. So once I recovered from the surgery, you ask me how has life been? This is what it's been. I have to go once a year, and they do a manual exam for me, because really I don't have natural breast tissue, because they just took fat from my thighs to reconstruct my breast. So unless whatever they took out, they left a little bit, the chances of the cancer coming back is very small.
Detecting the disease early and taking the appropriate action helped the US-based nurse survive this condition, which could have progressed with time.
Is it more important for you to have a breast, or is it more important for you to live? I understand the emotional, because even for me, like I said, I'm very strong. I had good support. I'm a nurse. Even for me, even now, sometimes when I look at my scars, you know, I tear up because I'm like, wow, you know. But what is important, especially if you're a woman, most of us are diagnosed when we have children. If you're not there, who's going to take care of your kids? What I would advise people who are going through that is to just ask yourself that simple question. You know, what is more important, your breast or your life? I was blessed in that I was in an environment where after 12 hours, I came out with breast. So maybe somebody may say that it's easy for me to say, but I think if I had to choose between my life and my children versus a breast and a man who won't understand or appreciate me for who I am, because he didn't marry my breast, he married me. And if you go through the journey the way every survivor that I know have gone through the journey, we come out better than we were when we even started.
For the 48-year-old, having supportive family and friends made all the difference. The mother of four says her experience with the disease has given her a different perspective about life.
It's made me appreciate people. You know, it's made me appreciate relationships. It's made me realize that it's not the material things that matter.
Bye-bye. Bye. And cats.